I'm Keith Becker from Dee Rentals. We've been talking about the cost of property management, and previously we talked about the big two issues, which typically are the ongoing management fee and tenant placement services. Now, the fact is that many property management firms will structure their services so that the management fee and or tenant placement fees cover all expenses that might be incurred in the course of your relationship, but that's not necessarily a guarantee. There are some companies that have a different structure. So when you're interviewing us or any other property management firm, you want to be sure you understand those secondary possibilities. The big issue in terms of secondary possibilities, maintenance. Maintenance and repairs are always going to be a concern as far as the responsibilities of a property management firm to take care of for your property. The question becomes, is that also a source of revenue for the property management firm? For example, let's just say any invoice that's ever generated for any services provided at your property, there's a 10% handling charge on top of the actual cost of the maintenance itself. So a $190 plumbing bill would actually be submitted to you for payment at the expense of $209, and it covers across the board for any and all invoices. You want to be sure that you understand that the possibility going in. There could also be, for example, in terms of maintenance and services, if you have an extraordinary project, an extraordinary situation where you're talking about floods or fire or an insurance claim, or something where you're talking about a massive undertaking, rebuilding a section of the house, for example, and the property management firm may require an administrative fee on top of the actual expenses, and it could be billed out as a percentage of the total billing or as an hourly rate due to the additional administration oversight detail associated with making sure that this is addressed. There's the possibility, again, regarding maintenance. And it does happen. You want to be sure that you understand when there is this possibility. If you have a management company that has preferred vendors, meaning that they have a relationship with a primary plumber, electrician, whomever, for whom they provide the majority of these projects that need to be done at managed properties, and in return, the maintenance company gives the management company a discount or a rebate or a credit or a consideration of any sort. If that's the case, you as the owner need to know about that, because it is ultimately revenue to the management company. It is something that would need to actually be documented into the management contract between yourself and the management company. It's not unfair, it's not unethical, but it needs to be clearly documented. The last issue, for example, might be when it comes to maintenance, might be, for example, if you've got a management company that in full or part owns a maintenance company, a contractor, whatever. So any work done at your property by this maintenance or contracting firm is ultimately income back to the management company. And if that's the case, again, you need to know and understand that possibility. There are additional possibilities in terms of costs that you as a property owner might incur. For example, if there are specialized services. I have an owner who was just audited by the IRS and needed documentation from 3 years ago, very specific, very detailed documentation, and I was the best person able to address it, provide it to him for his use. Of course, that's not necessarily something that from our perspective is built into the management fee, because it was so detailed, there was so much research and so much compilation, so it was an additional charge. So you want to ask when you're interviewing a management company, are there additional charges for special services? Are there additional charges if the property manager is actually going to court on your behalf? If they are instituting collections for a tenant who hasn't paid their obligations when they moved out, for example. And then, of course, in addition to those concepts, there are the issues associated with the sale of your property. And this is an asset, and at some point you may very well find yourself saying it's time to sell. Like this issue with the IRS, when it comes to selling an investment property, it's entirely possible that the property management firm is the most capable and centrally located person to be able to handle the relationship between yourself, the sales agent, and the tenant in terms of notifying the tenant of the impending sale, of potential buyers wanting to see the property, inspections, estoppels, etc. But again, is that covered in the management fee? And if not, how is it addressed? Secondarily, and this is a big one, what if your management company also has a sales division? You want to see and be sure, does your management contract with your management company include a provision stating that the sales side of their business actually has the first right of refusal to list the property for sale? That is something that could have long-term implications for you if you sign a contract now and in the future decide, okay, it's time to sell, and you find yourself committed to this type of relationship. Additionally, in terms of the sale, what happens if you, for example, decide that you are going to sell to the tenant that has been put in place by your management company? Is there a cost? Is there a commission? Is there a fee associated with the work that the management company did on your behalf to find you this individual who ultimately became part of your sale transaction? The fact is that this is by no means a comprehensive list of those possible other costs of property management in excess of the management fee, tenant placement fee. As a matter of fact, it doesn't also include those issues that might be directly affiliated with the tenants themselves. But if you're interviewing Didi's or interviewing any property management firm, you want to be sure that you are an informed consumer so that you can make smart decisions. Property management can be a complicated business. We're here to make it simple. I'm Keith Becker from Didi's Rentals.